with both of the White brothers as ADs of Tennessee and
Make
Virginia
it
Tech.
happen.
Make it happen.
I was
Fans
there.
loved it.
I was there. It was one of the coolest experiences going to a sporting event that I've ever had. It was a great start to that game. Tech went up 14-0, and I felt very confident in Justin Fuente in his second game as the head coach of the Hokies. And then things fell off from there. Josh Dobbs and Butch Jones figured it out, and Tennessee ended up winning that game. But I would love another battle at Bristol. Now that James Franklin is in charge, yeah, make it happen.
See, I don't really know what to expect from Virginia Tech this year because just brought over a bunch of Penn State guys, but that it just seems like the perfect fit for James Franklin because he recruits that area so well, and he
Right.
did that at Penn State. I'm really excited. They're one of the I don't know if dark horse is the right term in the ACC, but they're going to be fun to watch because of Franklin.
It was always frustrating for Virginia Tech fans because you kept getting Virginia kids stolen away by Penn State. It was year after year. The top players out of Virginia were going to Penn State to play for James Franklin. So it's nice to have him on our side now at Virginia Tech. We'll see where it goes. I don't think they'll be great this year, but I think 2 or 3 years down the road, hopefully Tech is back to being a, 8-9 win team every single year. And hopefully there's a few years you get to 10. But we'll see. I will say though, just any unique game experience I think is fun. Like the Vandy, Virginia outdoor exhibition. You mentioned Gonzaga and Michigan State on an aircraft carrier. I love it. Like give me all the unique game experiences. The battle at Bristol. I think it just makes it more fun. The game may not be great. You usually get decent matchups for these, but just unique game experiences I think is great for the viewer in person, but also on TV to see the Winter Classic every year is always so much fun to watch. The Stadium Series, they've expanded on it. I love these unique ways that they play games, and I hope we get more of it moving forward.
See, I have a really strict opinion on neutral site games, especially when it comes to college football, but Notre Dame released a video, I think it was yesterday, of their uniforms they'll be wearing versus Wisconsin when they play at Lambeau.
Yeah.
I think it's Sunday, September 6th, if I have my dates correct. I don't know how I feel about that because Lambeau is one of the few really historic venues in the NFL. And Notre Dame has a little bit of history kind of interconnected with that. And it seems like a good place in between Madison and South Bend. I am excited to see that environment, but at the same time, not the biggest fan of neutral sites.
Yeah, football is different because there's not a whole lot of interesting ways you can play football. Like, I guess some of the cool ones I like are the bowl games in baseball stadiums, like playing the pinstripe bowl, the Fenway Bowl. I think those are cool to be able to play those games in historic baseball stadiums. Northwestern's played some games in Wrigley.
They're playing one in Wrigley this year too,
right?
I
think that's awesome. That's probably about as strange as you can get for football. I mean, I guess the location can be different. The NFL plays their international games. We'll get UNC and TCU in Dublin, but I think that's the coolest way you can play football. But all the other sports, I guess maybe baseball doing like the Field of Dreams game. I wish they would do that more often. That was awesome. It was Luis Robert hit the walk-off home run into the corn. Like that's great. The Williamsport game every year, the Little League Classic, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think, you can't do it too often because then it loses the shine, it loses the novelty. But I think it is great when you get these interesting twists on where you end up playing these sports, and getting Vandy and Virginia outdoors in Charleston in an exhibition will be cool.
At least it's an exhibition and not a regular season game.
Right. I don't know if
I'll probably, is there a way to watch?
I don't know. This is from John Rothstein. They just reported that it's going to happen. And then the Citadel and the College of Charleston will play in the second game. So I don't know if it'll be televised, but still a very interesting piece of news this morning that Vandy and Virginia will play an exhibition outdoors in Charleston, according to John Rothstein and John Goodman. Quickly, before we get into the top 10 defensive tackles, because that came out this morning, I want to talk about where Jeffrey Simmons ended up, and John Franklin Myers as well. I saw yesterday a headline that the NCAA is opening an inquiry into Brendan Sorsby in Cincinnati, and Sorsby's agent has already come out and said that Cincinnati was aware of his gambling while he was playing for the Bearcats. I just want to ask you the question, Parker. Like, what's the punishment if that ends up being true? If Cincinnati was aware of all of this and did nothing about it and just let Sorsby keep playing and didn't report it to the proper authorities, like how severe of a punishment does Cincinnati get for that violation?
Well, with today's day and age of the NCAA not really meaning much, I don't know.
That's true.
It may
Yeah.
be a slap on the wrist, and I also, because I've talked to somebody who works at the Cincinnati Enquirer who said, "Hey, like the media had no idea. Like the people that work directly with the university had no idea."
Yeah.
But then you have Sorsby's agent coming out saying, "Well, Cincinnati knew the whole time," and it was odd when he said it because if he knew as well, then why didn't he say something earlier?
Right. Yeah. If the agent knew, why would he continue to represent Sorsby?
Right. But you can't, I don't know if you can, if Sorsby's going to get punished at all. I don't think you can if
Well,
he's not really playing.
Right. His punishment has already been levied.
It's like Jim Harbaugh, right? Like to avoid the sanctions that the NCAA put on Michigan, he just went to the NFL. So
Right.
you can't really punish him.
Well, Sorsby did get banned. So, like, that's the punishment is he's banned from playing college football. I see the thing with Cincinnati is there's no evidence that he bet on Cincinnati football. Like, if you knew that Sorsby was betting on or against your team and you didn't do anything about it, that's like where would you say like death penalty might get involved of like if you were actively aware of serious gambling violations and you just didn't do anything about it, maybe not quite death penalty, but like serious sanctions. If they just knew about like MLB and NBA bets and did nothing about it, I think you're right. I think it is a slap on the wrist, which apparently that's all he was doing at Cincinnati. He bet a couple times on Cincinnati basketball, which is pretty serious.
You're getting close. Yeah.
But like, I do wonder if this comes out that like Cincinnati for 2 years was aware of the gambling and did nothing about it. The NCAA, they tried to make an example of Brendan Sorsby by banning him. I think they would try and make an example of Cincinnati that, hey, if you're aware of these types of violations on your team, it's going to lead to some serious punishment.
I'd like to think that they would punish Cincinnati really hardcore, but I have no way of knowing until we know for a fact that Sorsby placed bets on Cincinnati while he was there, which if he did it in Indiana, good chance he might have done it at Cincinnati. I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to think that they would get a severe punishment if that was the case.
Yeah, we don't know
because he started both years at Cincinnati.
Yeah,
he was the starter.
Well, and I was reading through the article about this yesterday. I guess he bet $60,000 during his time at Cincinnati. So serious violation, no matter what it was on. But I think Cincinnati, as a program, as an athletic department, probably won't get as serious of sanctions. They'll get something if they find out that they knew about this. But unless he was actually betting on Cincinnati football or even worse, against Cincinnati football and fixing games, then I think it would be minimal compared to what it could be down the road. We'll see. But the Sorsby saga, I always think it's over, and then there's something new that pops up every week.
I had a feeling it wasn't over even after he announced he was going to go to the draft because there's a new wrinkle every single week.
Well, and we keep waiting to find out, like, is he in serious legal trouble here? Like, because some of the things they're accusing him of doing are crimes, right? Sending money across state lines for the purpose of gambling is illegal. Now, I don't know if they're going to go after him for that, considering there are some more serious issues going on. I mean, Kirk Kriisa and the stuff that came out this week with him. And of course, we just saw more NBA violations come down. So I think there might be bigger fish to fry for the federal government than Brendan Sorsby sending money on Venmo across state lines. But you just don't know when the next shoe is going to drop with Brendan Sorsby. And right now, the latest report is that the NCAA is starting an inquiry into Cincinnati for possibly knowing about Brendan Sorsby's gambling activity. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, let's talk some Titans. Top 10 lists continue to drop every day from ESPN, ranking different position groups around the NFL, executives, coaches, scouts voting on it. Today, the one you care about as a Titans fan. Where does Jeffrey Simmons rank among defensive tackles? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on your Thursday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights. First pitch is at 6:04 p.m. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Again, no TD today. Teron Davenport will be in with us for the full show tomorrow for a Freaky Friday with TD, and TD's appearances are always presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's talk some Titans here. Again, the pinnacle of list season, slowly coming out throughout the next 2 weeks, rolling out top 10 position group rankings around the NFL as voted on by people in the NFL, executives, coaches, and scouts. And this is the one we've been looking forward to, Parker, the interior defensive linemen, defensive tackles, because the Titans' best player is a defensive tackle, and he is very possibly the only player who ends up on one of these lists. We thought yesterday, Parker, that he was going to be number one. I think that was me, you, and Corey. We kind of agreed. We'd be a little bit surprised if he was not the number one, coming off an 11-sack season and a first-team All-Pro selection, and he is not number one. Jeffrey Simmons ranked as the number 2 defensive tackle in the NFL, up from 4 last year. Highest ranking among voters is 1, and I've got to ask, who is the voter who had him 8th? The lowest ranking had him 8th. Jeremy Fowler writes this piece, and did say he nearly earned the number 1 spot, but fell just short in the voting. So Jeffrey Simmons does make a move up, but he is not ranked as the top defensive tackle in the league. He is 1 spot behind Leonard Williams. Your thoughts, Parker Kelley?
I'm not surprised by this. Now, I would have had him 1 because I thought he was the best defensive tackle in the league last year. However, from a national perspective, we kind of know how they feel about the Tennessee Titans. Not a surprise that Jeffrey Simmons is 2. I'd say that's pretty good, having him at 2.
2 is very good. Don't want to take anything away from him.
So I didn't know that's how that works. So somebody voted him 8th?
Yes. So you can see the highest ranking and the lowest ranking. And to be fair, somebody had Leonard Williams 8th too. So both of them were ranked as high as 1 and as low as 8.
If you have Jeffrey Simmons at 8, you just don't watch.
Right.
You don't watch football.
I don't know how you can watch what Jeffrey Simmons did last year and say he is the 8th best defensive tackle in the league. But honestly, the rankings are pretty spread out for all of these guys. Like Jalen Carter is 3rd. His highest ranking was 2. His lowest ranking was 9. Chris Jones had 1 to 10. He's ranked number 4. Derek Brown, somebody ranked him number 1. The lowest ranking was unranked. So it's a pretty widespread opinion on these defensive tackles. But Jeffrey Simmons, highest ranking 1, lowest ranking 8. He falls just short of Leonard Williams for the top spot.
Yeah, not surprised by this. Again, we both, Corey as well, I'm sure everybody at the station would have had Jeffrey Simmons number 1. But it is a wide ranging, because I've talked with, friends and other people about like who they thought the best defensive tackle in the league. And sometimes they name 4 or 5 players before they got to Jeffrey Simmons. So it seems like there is a wide range of opinion on this. And we may have a little bit of a bias involved because we covered the Titans a lot, but he was the best defensive tackle in the league. Getting double-digit sacks, he was actually top 10 in the NFL in total as a defensive tackle in sacks. That is extremely impressive. That would have vaulted him to 1 for me. Leonard Williams, and I know sacks aren't the biggest stat for a defensive tackle, but Leonard Williams had 7 last year.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why defensive tackle is one of the tougher positions to judge. Is you have to watch some serious film to know what these guys are doing on any given play. And I will say I watched some Leonard Williams last year, but it's not like Jeffrey Simmons where I watched every game. So maybe if I went back and watched, I'd be like, man, that dude did wreck games just like Jeffrey Simmons did. And he did it on a team that won the Super Bowl. And that's what one of the coordinators that was polled said. He was the most important player on that Super Bowl team. He's the total package. And I think that probably was part of it. Is he played on the team that won the Super Bowl. Jeffrey Simmons played on a team that won 3 games. And again, with defensive tackles, it's not like quarterback where you can just look at the stats. And if you watched a few games, you can be like, all right, that guy's really good. That guy's not as good. With defensive tackles, you really have to be in depth at watching what these players do. And I believe we feel good about the idea we have of Jeffrey Simmons because we've watched him so much. I can't say that I watched every snap Leonard Williams took last year. So, I mean, if I went back and watched the film, maybe he would be just as dominant as Jeffrey Simmons was last year. But based on what I saw, Jeffrey Simmons was about as good as you could get. He faced 65% double teams. 65% of the time he was facing double teams and had the second highest pass rush win rate among defensive tackles. 17 tackles for loss, led all interior linemen, and had 11 sacks. I feel like he deserved to be one, but you're really splitting hairs at this point. He is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
And it's just, it's early July, right? It's Mount Rushmore season, it's list season.
Yep.
So this list is not the end all be all.
Right.
But with Leonard Williams, and I'm not trying to take anything away because he's a phenomenal player, but he was on a loaded, and I mean loaded, Seattle defense, the best in the league. Jeffrey Simmons was single-handedly carrying that front seven last year. Cedric Gray was top 5 in the league in tackles, but outside of that, I mean, it was Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, I mean, you look, Tavondre Sweat was a fine player. Maybe not what you drafted him to be, but and didn't make the impact in the stat sheet, but fine player. You didn't have much help on the edge, especially after you traded away Draymond Jones. Jeffrey Simmons had to do it all by himself. And a veteran NFL defensive coach in this article says his tape was phenomenal, and it's even more impressive doing it on a 3-win team and getting little help around him. So Jeffrey Simmons had a phenomenal year last year. He got rewarded for it. I don't think he's all that worried about being ranked number 2, and especially when the article does say that he nearly earned that number 1 spot. But I was a little surprised to wake up this morning and look at this article and see that he was not ranked as the number 1 defensive tackle. Mentioned some of the rest of the list. 3 was Jalen Carter from the Eagles, who we talked about yesterday, could possibly end up taking that top spot. Chris Jones, number 4, despite a tough year for the Chiefs, he is still one of the better interior defensive line players in the league. Derek Brown, 5, Quinnen Williams, 6, Dexter Lawrence falls from 1 to 7, which again, I think is understandable. Sacks aren't everything, as we just mentioned, for defensive tackles, but when you drop from 9 sacks to half a sack in 1 year,
you're going to drop.
You're going to fall in this. Again, sacks aren't everything, but it is something. If you're affecting the game, you're going to get sacks. Zach Allen from the Broncos is number 8. Milton Williams from the Patriots, number 9. And Jordan Davis from the Eagles is number 10. I was a little surprised. John Franklin Myers did not get any votes, despite having 7.5 sacks last year. And I mean, the way he got paid and the amount of teams that we heard were in on him in free agency, I think it's possible that he's a tweener here and he plays some on the edge and some on the interior. And so maybe some of these scouts and executives didn't know where to put him. Because obviously John Franklin Myers, if you're looking at edge defenders, isn't going to be close to the top 10 because he's not one of those guys who's going to get double-digit sacks year in and year out. And because he plays on the edge, maybe some of these people voting didn't view him as a defensive tackle primarily and didn't put him in this list. But, I mean, coming off the seasons that he had in Denver, he is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. 7 sacks in 2024, 7.5 sacks last year, and had how many tackles for loss? It doesn't say on here for some reason, but 2 straight big years from John Franklin Myers, gets rewarded with the big contract. He is not listed here, even as honorable mention or others receiving votes.
I'm very surprised by that. At least the fact that he wasn't in the ones also receiving votes. You may have a good point there of him being a tweener because he's probably more of a 5 tech. Not a true edge rusher. Maybe not. I mean, you could group him in the interior category because he's not playing wide 9. He's not rushing outside of the tackle. So I don't know. I definitely would have voted for him.
Like it's tough to judge. Is he a defensive tackle? Sometimes. Is he a defensive end? Sometimes. And I think that might have led to people not knowing where to put him. But I think when you look at how he's going to be used with the Titans, I think he's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. One of the best. How many are listed here? 13, 18. Like, I think I would put him over a guy like Cam Hayward at the end of his career who got some votes.
And we saw his teammate Zach Allen finally crack the top 10.
Right.
And John Franklin Myers was a huge part of that, that defensive front for Denver.
Right.
One of the best in the league. And I don't know how he didn't receive votes.
Yeah, that Broncos defensive line getting some flowers, but maybe not as much as they should. With Nick Bonito being 10 yesterday in the edge rusher rankings, really surprised me. Zach Allen does get into the top 10 at 8. He's had 131 quarterback hits since 2022, 8 more than the next closest player, Myles Garrett. Like that is crazy from Zach Allen. Possible that he should be higher on this list. So again, it's not a perfect science when you go through these top 10 rankings, but it does show you that Jeffrey Simmons is very well regarded among the league and is one of the best players at his position across the NFL. Again, with John Franklin Myers, I think he is one of the better defensive linemen in the league overall. But maybe they didn't know where to put it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jeffrey Simmons ranked as the second best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. Coming off an 11-sack season, he's got the big extension. Can he back it up this year? Playing in Robert Saleh's defense, a little more help around, and what are expectations for Big Jeff heading into 2026? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. Little posty here.
It's a good album.
It is.
You were right. It is a good album.
So for like a year, this was like my just one of those albums that I would just put on in the background, like, you know, if you're getting ready to go out or something like that. It's a great, like, it's got so many different vibes to it. I like it. He's coming out with another country album, so we'll see how that.
So is he primarily a country artist now, or is
I
he
think
like going back and forth? What's he doing here?
he's putting out more country music. I think that's what he's trying to lean into. But you went to his concert, like he still plays his old
Yeah,
stuff.
I'd say 65 to 70% was all his old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he's leaning into it. I mean, you saw when I Had Some Help came out, like that was the biggest song
Broke the internet for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was just waiting as much as they could for that song to come out 2 summers ago. So I'm excited to see what he's got in store coming up. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We're talking about the top 10 defensive tackle rankings that came out this morning from ESPN. Again, it polls executives, coaches, scouts, so people around the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons ranks second behind Leonard Williams. Coming off an 11-sack season, Parker, I don't know if he can do the same thing again, right? Like 11 sacks and the way he played is really impressive. But you look at the way he's going to be used in this solid defense, and I mean, there's a chance that he's able to back this up with another big year. I don't know if you can expect it, right? Because 11 sacks for a defensive tackle is a lot. But you just look at everything that's been put around him. You give him a running mate in John Franklin Myers on the interior. You add to the edge with Jermaine Johnson, and you draft Keldrick Falk in the first round. And in this solid system where he said he's going to be rotating these guys a lot, and Jeffrey Simmons isn't going to have to play as many snaps, and he's going to be put in situations where he can go make plays. I do look at it and say he might be fresher. He might face less double teams. And maybe we do see another big year from Jeffrey Simmons where he reaches double-digit sacks. And maybe a year from now, we're talking about him as the number one player on this list.
I've been on the record of saying that he has the potential to be better than he was last year, just because of the way Saleh runs this scheme, specifically with that, front four, front seven. We've seen evidence, right? In San Francisco, in New York, it works. So, and it's not like this is Saleh's idea, right? He's pulled this from other coaches that he's worked with in the past. Right. So I think the ability for, okay, if you are going to play Big Jeff 60% of the time and you are going to rotate the defensive line the way you typically do, I think that that'll allow, like you said, less double teams, more one-on-one opportunities, because it's the same 5 offensive linemen you're facing the whole game. They are going to wear down. And if you're fresh heading into the fourth quarter, like Jeffrey Simmons, who is the best defensive tackle in the NFL, at least we think so, you're going to be able to get to the quarterback. No, that's just how it's going to work.
It's a very good point. Like you don't see teams shuffling in and out their left guard every couple of plays. They're going to be out there the whole game. And I do
60
to 65. I think a lot of those are going to come later on in the game. Maybe he does sit out for some rundowns early on. You get Jordan Elliott, you get Solomon Thomas in there who can be those big run defenders. And yeah, you're going to put him in positions early in games to go make an impact. But you're right. If later on in the game, if Jeffrey Simmons has played 10 less snaps than he did last year, and he's got a little bit fresher legs in the fourth quarter against this offensive line that's been playing every snap, I do think that he is going to get more opportunities to go make plays. And something that I wanted to bring up too is it's not just the additions on the defensive line. You've also hopefully improved the secondary, which make the quarterback hold the ball a little bit longer. Maybe Jeffrey Simmons gets an extra second to go get the quarterback, or at least to go make an impact on the throw. We saw it early on in the season. I'll always bring up the Bo Nix pick to Xavier Woods was 100% caused by Jeffrey Simmons. Having a little bit better secondary play with Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott and hopefully a healthy Kevin Winston, I think that could play just as big a role as the additions on the defensive line to help Jeffrey Simmons make a few more plays.
Yeah, I'm certainly more confident with the additions of Flott and Taylor. I'm fairly confident in the safeties, right? Amani Hooker, Kevin Winston. I like Marcus Harris as the nickel. I'm just I'm concerned about the depth because you are going to need depth in the secondary, and it's Keydrane Callaghan, who I
Yeah.
like, but I don't know if he's a
Yeah, Micah
right.
Robinson,
Micah Robinson's underrated.
Josh
He's good.
Williams. Like there's
They're
there's
fine,
there's players there, but they're unproven.
but
Like
if you're going to need to rely on this defensive front to get to the quarterback faster, so those guys don't have to guard man to man for a long period of time.
yeah, I do think that the additions at all levels of the defense are hopefully going to help Big Jeff. Dustin from Hopkinsville, maybe a little bit of a lofty goal here. He says, I think with the secondary getting better, help around him, filling defensive holes, a whole offense, less snaps, he might chase Miles Garrett's record. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm gonna just pump the brakes.
Okay.
Not just a little bit. We're gonna pump the brakes a lot.
Let's calm down.
What is the
Please.
most sacks ever for a defensive tackle?
That's a fantastic question.
And I'm not saying I think he's going to do this.
I think 16 and a half, maybe.
Most sacks from a defensive tackle in
guys
NFL
like
history.
Warren Sapp played both, right?
Yeah. I'm getting career leaders on when I'm looking this up. Let's see. In a single season. Maybe how many did Aaron Donald have? Oh, Aaron Donald had 20 and a half in 2018.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
yeah. So Jeffrey Simmons, not Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
I think we can all say that. And even 15 would be like an elite all-time season from a defensive tackle. He's not getting there. I think he could get to like 12. 11, 12 would be another phenomenal season from Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons is in his prime right now and got a career high last year in 11. Right. So
he's not Aaron Donald. He's not going to be chasing sack records from the interior, but I think he can have another double-digit sack year and have a huge season. 615-737-1025. Before we move on Jeffrey Simmons, I did see this. Willie Donick just tweeted this out. I didn't get to listen, but I saw DVD was ranking their top 5 Nashville sports stars, current players playing in Nashville right now. Just anyone in the city playing in Nashville. Who do you think is number 1, Parker Kelley?
Jeff Simmons.
It is Jeff Simmons who is number 1. They have Michaela Blake's as number 2, which actually, like, at first when I saw this topic, I was thinking they were only talking pro sports. But when you're talking everything, when you're talking superstar players in this city, yeah, Michaela's got to be up there. I mean, she very well might be the best player in the country.
Yeah, Vandy women's basketball, I feel like, is on the verge of competing for a national championship.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
correct me if you think I'm wrong.
No, I mean the momentum that Shea Ralph and that staff has right now is just unbelievable. I mean, bringing in another 5-star recruit this year and in the
that
transfer
just seems
portal,
crazy.
Like
that seems crazy.
Vanderbilt is recruiting with the best of them right now, and having a player like Michaela Blake's, and you never know how they're going to use their eligibility. But now with the 5-5, I believe Michaela and Aubrey Galvin both have an extra year if they choose to use it. So, this is a team that, you're right, I think they could be in a Final Four very, very soon.
I mean, they were this close to the Elite Eight last year.
Right.
This
close.
Yeah,
3 points away. Number 3, Tyler Tanner, and I agree with that, All-American player. I was a little surprised that maybe Philip Forsberg wasn't above him. But Philip Forsberg 4, Roman Yossi 5. Other nominees, Steven Stamkos, Cam Ward, and Hani Mukhtar.
I'd put Cam Ward in there. Like, I know he hasn't really done anything spectacular yet in the NFL.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's a quarterback of a professional football team.
Right.
He's going to be featured on Netflix. That's who most of the national media knows when they think about the Titans, like him and Jeff Simmons, right?
Right.
So I would have put him in there just because of that.
No, I agree with you that, like, the quarterback of the
QB tax,
the quarterback of the pro football team is always going to be included in stars. Like, if you go, who has the most jerseys among fans of Nashville teams right now, it's probably Cam Ward.
Yeah. And he was the first overall pick.
But I understand leaving him lower because it's like you do have to prove it, right? You got to go prove that.
If we're talking proven, right. I don't know. I didn't listen either, so I don't know if that's what they went off of.
Yeah, Willie tweeted this out. I'm glad he did. I'll have to go listen back to the full recording. But speaking of quarterback, we're 5 days away from the premiere of quarterback this year with Cam Ward. It kind of snuck up on me. So excited for that. That'll be a topic next week as we get to see Cam Ward on Netflix and going through his rookie season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will talk some Cam Ward coming up in just a little bit. But is that it for the Titans on top 10 list this year? Is Jeffrey Simmons the only player who makes it into one of these? And who has the ability to crack their way into the top 10 at their position over the next couple of years? We'll talk about that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. The Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix is coming to the Nashville Superspeedway Saturday, July 18th and Sunday, July 19th. And 1025 The Game has your chance to win tickets to the IndyCar race. Text in the keyword RACE, R-A-C-E, right now to 615-737-1025 to enter to win tickets. For more information on the event, visit musiccitygp.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Going through the top 10 lists that ESPN puts out every year polling executives, coaches, scouts on the top 10 at every position group. Today, the defensive tackles came out. Jeffrey Simmons, number 2. We want your reaction. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jared in Spring Hill has called in. Jared, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, yes, sir. Good morning. I think your question was like, who else could be or should be on the top 10 list for the Titans in the next couple of years?
Yeah.
My expectations, you got to have, it'd be ideally, it would be Cam Ward and
right.
We should do that, but I don't think we're quite there yet with him. But I do think that Skoronski needs to be in the top 10. And I also think where Latham was picked, he needs to be in the top 10 in at least right tackle conversation in the next coming years. And especially by the time he gets try to get his second contract, he needs to be pushing the envelope on those 2 spots just based on where we drafted them alone. But outside of that, I would love Carnell Tate. Don't get me wrong, to be, top 10 in 2 years, but that's a tough crust to kind of crack through there with the wide receivers in the NFL right now. So I don't know. That's my list. Skoronski and Latham. Like the question. Be safe out there, fellas.
Appreciate it, Jared. And I think that's kind of the list for me too. And I think he makes a good point that the one that you're really hoping works out and 2 years down the road is in one of these top 10s is Cam Ward, right? You have a top 10 quarterback. A lot of the rest takes care of itself, but you're way too early to have that conversation right now. Skoronski's the interesting one because if it was just guards, if they were just ranking the top 10 guards in the league, I think Skoronski's probably on that list. I think he's probably within the top 10, but it's interior offensive linemen. So you're going to get centers in there too. I think it'll be mostly guards on the list, but I wonder if he ends up being in the honorable mention, others receiving votes. That list comes out on Sunday. So we'll see. Skoronski's borderline to me. I think he will have his name somewhere in the article, whether it's in the top 10 or just outside, but it being interior offensive linemen and not just guards might knock him down a couple of spots just outside the top 10.
So did he not at least receive one vote last year in the poll?
Let's see. That's a good
question. Because I want to say he did, if my memory is serving correct.
Let's find out.
Yeah, but since they just rank the interior offensive lineman, that does hurt Skoronski because he is in the top half of guards in the NFL, but there are also centers and stuff in there. So
you are right. He was ranked as the 15th best interior offensive lineman.
So there is a chance he could crack the top 10.
Kevin Zeitler was 19th last year, actually.
Yeah. See, I think Skoronski is going to be just on the outside looking in, maybe 11, 12, 13. If he was 15 last year.
Yeah, I'm looking, and actually, there's a lot of centers who are on this list. Now, the top is mostly guards, but there were a decent amount of centers on this list. I think he's going to be right around 10. He could be 8, but I think he could also be 12, 13, somewhere in that range for Peter Skoronski. We'll have to see. Sunday is when that list comes out. With J.C. Latham, yeah, you hope, but he's a long way away from that right now. You need him just to be a starting level right tackle for you this year. Hopefully a little bit better than that. But that's the first step, is just feeling like you have, we're locked in at right tackle with J.C. Latham. Then you hope he makes that jump to being a Pro Bowl, maybe eventually all pro, but again, long way away from that. Carnell Tate, Jared mentioned him. You pick him 4th overall. I think eventually you hope that he's considered a top 10 wide receiver in the league. It's not going to happen this year as a rookie, maybe 2 years. But yeah, as you've said, Parker, you hope for what? A 1,300-yard season in the first 3 years for Carnell Tate. If you have 1,300 yards in a season, I think you're right around top 10 in the league. So Carnell Tate would be one that I'd hope to see on this list sometime in his rookie contract. The one that I will bring up that I think could end up being on this list, Anthony Hill Jr. Again, we've never seen him take a snap in the NFL. So getting ahead of ourselves for sure. But I think inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker is probably one of the easier lists to get on here because there's not a whole lot of elite talent.
It's hard
there
to judge that position.
Right. And if I think that's one of those lists where it's easier to sneak your way in early on in your career if you have a good season or two. Like, there's an outside chance Cedric Gray is in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, top 5 in the league in tackles last year,
with the season that he had, there's a decent chance he could be on there this year. That's the guy out of the young players the Titans have that I'm like, man, 2 years down the road, we could see him on that list.
Kevin Winston is another guy.
Yeah.
I think it's way too early to know right now, but I could see him, if things continue to trend the way they have been, maybe he could crack the list within the next 3-4 years.
No, I could see that. I think that's probably out of the draft picks over the last couple of years. That's the group that I hope to see on one of these lists eventually. We talked about Femi Oladejo with Corey. I have no confidence that he will be on any of these lists ever in his career. And he was a second-round pick last year.
That was a funny conversation.
I felt like we got our wires crossed because I was not trying to say like Femi's going to be a top 10 pass rusher in the league within the next 5 years. It's like, no, I was just saying he's that type of build, that type of archetype of a pass rusher that ends up getting sacks. He's got to go do it, but like he's got that frame. We got our wires crossed. I was not trying to say Femi Oladejo is on the fast track to being an elite pass rusher. I'm trying to think. So Tate this year, Keldrick Falk, I would say the opposite about Keldrick Falk that I was saying about Femi of like, I think Keldrick Falk's going to be a good player, but he's going to get caught in that John Franklin Myers that we just talked about, that conundrum where is he an interior guy? Is he an edge rusher? He's not going to be a guy who gets double-digit sacks, so he's never going to be a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL, but he's also probably not going to be a strictly defensive tackle, so he's not going to be on that list either. So, like, Falk, I think, going to be a very good player. I just think the position that he plays makes it tough for him to crack either the interior or the edge rusher list. Like, that's just not going to be his game.
It's hard for me to say that a guy that never had double-digit sacks in a season in college is going to suddenly do it in the NFL.
Right.
Like, it's and not saying they're the same player because they're different, but like Shamar Stewart at Texas A&M had combined 4.5 sacks throughout his whole career in college. So I just never really saw that translating to the NFL, especially when the Bengals are the ones drafting him who can't develop worth a lick on the defensive side of the ball. Keldrick Falk is probably not going to be relied upon to be a double-digit sack guy.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see him being on that list either.
Falk is not one of these prospects that it's like, man, you want him to come in and be Javon Curse, right? Like, and have double-digit sacks ASAP. Like, that is not what he was drafted to be. He was drafted to be a guy who can get to the quarterback, but going to be a really good run defender and going to help everybody else in this defensive line rotation go make plays. So yeah, like Falk, first round pick, I don't ever see him being on one of these lists because it just doesn't, the way they're formatted doesn't really fit his game. So yeah,
they're probably going to bump him inside too.
Right.
On
he's going to go
downs.
inside, outside.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's not going to get enough sacks to be considered a top 10 edge rusher. He's not going to be as dominant on the interior to be a top 10 defensive tackle. So he's in that John Franklin Myers bucket. I think that's probably the guys that I look at that are up and coming on this team that you're like, man, you'd hope that they can get into that top tier in the league. Tate, Hill, Ward, Winston, Latham, Skoronski. And you know, I did forget about Cedric Gray a little bit. I'm interested to see, when does off-ball linebackers come out? That is next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, that'll be one to tune in for and see if Cedric Gray ends up being in the top 10, because when you're top 5 in the league in tackles, again, stats aren't everything for inside linebackers, but I do think that could possibly put him in that range. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll talk more Titans coming up to start off the 10 a.m. hour. We'll get into some college football at 10:30 and much more throughout the show today. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, hour number 2 up next. You're on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game, second hour on this Thursday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Again, not a TD Thursday today, but he will be with us tomorrow for Freaky Friday. I don't know.
We haven't had Freaky Friday.
It's a working title. We'll have to see how it plays out. He said only slow jams tomorrow for Freaky Friday.
Slow jams. Yeah, I could see that. It's still the summer, taking things easy, right?
Right.
I like it. I like adding Freaky Friday into the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
hopefully I can deliver.
We've got all of our names here on the program with Tony Tuesdays, Reaction Mondays. What do we call Corey on Wednesdays?
Okay, so it has been 80s Wednesday, but due to the U.S. playing on Wednesdays,
it's been patriotic.
It's been more so patriotic than anything. And yesterday it was a lot of like football bump music, to give people chills a little bit with football season right around the corner. Lots of football talk yesterday.
Wednesday we mix it up a decent amount. But yeah, TD Thursdays and then White Girl Fridays with Connor. It's great.
Yep. One of the best days of the week, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and it's been a couple weeks since we've had Connor in here. So anyway, 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Continuing to talk Titans here. And I don't know if you saw, Parker, video, Cam Ward, Carnell, Tate tossing the rock together yesterday out on social media. I mean, not unexpected. We heard that that Cam Ward said he's not taking any breaks, that his break was back in February and March, and now he's ready to go. So I'm excited to see what that duo is going to do in training camp into the joint practices. I was looking through, we just went through the top 10 list looking for Titans. I kind of flipped it around to the opposite way of what are the Titans going to face this season in terms of elite cornerbacks and elite pass rushers. And we start with cornerbacks because Carnell Tate is going to be tested early on in his NFL career. The Titans are going to see 6 of the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL this year, and 2 of them twice. That includes Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner. So Carnell Tate going to have a chance to prove himself early against the toughest cornerbacks in the entire NFL. And I'm excited to see iron sharpens iron. Is he going to be able to have some success facing guys like that? I mean, you look at some of the top guys on this list the Titans are going to see. Luckily, you don't face Pat Surtain this year to start off the season, but you do face Stingley. You face Devin Witherspoon, you face in the preseason. You face Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean against the Eagles. You're going to face Denzel Ward. So going to be a tough test for this Titans receiving core when Cam Ward and Carnell Tate square off against especially teams like the Texans and the Colts.
And then that Eagles in week 2, you get. Did you mention Quinyon Mitchell already? And Cooper
yeah.
So it's they're going to get thrown in the fire early. The good thing is, you start off with the Jets, who didn't have a single interception last year. So that's kind of a good, ease into the NFL, right? And then boom, the Eagles week 2. So at least you get one tune-up game before you get thrown in the fire.
Yeah, it's true. The Jets at the very least did not have an interception, which that they're going to pick 6 first play of the game. Cam Ward, everybody melts down if that happens.
How hilarious would that be? It wouldn't be hilarious for us.
It would be a tough reaction Monday. New York Doug has texted in. He asked, what kind of golfer is Jake? An average one? I don't know.
Listen, I am a very competitive person, and it doesn't matter what I do. If I lose, I get really upset. But golf is the only exception because I know I'm not good, but I go out there to have a good time.
Yeah. He says, what kind of golfer is Jake? Good, terrible? I'm not terrible, but I wouldn't say I'm good. I've broken 80 a handful of times.
Okay.
Or not 80, sorry. Broken 90.
Okay.
Yeah. If I've broken 80 a few times, I would qualify myself as a good golfer. I've broken 90 a handful of times. I'd say I shoot usually between like 88 and 92. Somewhere in there. So there you go, New York Doug. I don't know if he's leading up to some sort of joke here about Jackson.
Maybe he's trying to take a shot at you. I don't know.
He always kind of does with
See, a majority of the time when I'm playing scramble.
See, that's I love me a good scramble tournament. Like you
it's
go
fun.
out there,
it's really fun.
All you got to do is hit a couple of good shots and you feel good about your game because usually somebody's going to pick you up on your team and you end up turning in a scorecard where you're shooting under par a lot of the time. Like it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. So I agree. I like to scramble.
But it's the good shots that you hit that keep you coming back.
Right. It's like when you have to step up and hit a putt, like you're the last guy and you go drill like
a lot of pressure.
a 12 to 15 foot putt, like that feeling will take you through the entire round. If you don't hit another shot the rest of the day, you're good. That's why scrambles are great. I love it. I haven't played in a tournament in a while. Maybe I'll have to look into one just to see if I can get back out there. But New York Doug, I am an okay golfer. Okay would be the best way to put it.
I hit I was on a par 3 about 2 months ago, and I teed off with my iron and probably got it 2 feet from the hole. One of the better shots that I've ever hit, and it just keeps me coming back. And that was 2 months ago, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I need to get out there more often. I think the last time I played was a couple weeks ago, maybe a month.
It's an expensive hobby.
It is an expensive hobby. Like my clubs are just hand-me-downs from my dad, and eventually I probably should get better clubs that are actually fitted to me. But I'm not in that financial spot right now. Dustin from Hopkinsville on the text line says, you got to chill on the no interceptions. Ward gets picked by Jarvis Brownlee 3 times. Yeah, there's the nightmare scenario is the Jets have no interceptions for an entire year, and Jarvis Brownlee Jr.
and
picks
he's
off
the
Cam
one
Ward multiple times.
He's the one that gets the pick
yeah.
six.
Tavondre Sweat gets 3 sacks, and Jarvis Brownlee Jr. gets 3 picks.
Yeah, if that happens and the Jets win week 1, it is not going to be fun the next day.
No, it is
not going to be any fun.
No. It's so much more fun to come in here and host a show after the Titans win. We don't have much experience with that.
We had 3 of those last year.
And that's not trying to be like homers or something, but it's more fun to talk about a team that's playing well, obviously, than just continuously ragging on them for how horrible they were, like we did all of last season. So let's week 1, just for vibes, Titans need to go get a win.
And one of those reactions was the Cardinals game, in which they didn't play good. Right. They just got lucky.
The Cardinals game was such and honestly, the Browns game too was like a weird one. All 3 wins last year were like weird ones to come in and react to. Cardinals won, obviously, they shouldn't have won that game. So it was, you had to preface everything with that the Cardinals gave them a gift. Then the Browns game, where Shedeur Sanders statistically actually played pretty well. So we had a bunch of people calling and texting in about that. And then the Chiefs game, when it was Chris Olatakun, who was playing quarterback for Kansas City, it's like, can you really give the Titans all that much credit for winning that game? So let's hope week 1, for vibes of the team and vibes of us here in the studio, go get a win. Back to Carnell Tate. We got completely off track there with the golf text from New York Doug. Tate is going to have a chance to prove himself in those joint practices and preseason games. Going to face Devin Witherspoon, going to face Jalen Johnson of the Bears, going to face Diamador Lenore of the 49ers. Those are all top 20 to 25 cornerbacks in the league, all legitimate cornerback ones. I do think that those joint practices and what we see from Carnell Tate will give us a decent idea of what we're going to see in the regular season, because he is going to be facing some pretty high-level corners early on in training camp.
Oh, he will. And I'm excited for that, because it is a completely different animal. Like, we see Carnell Tate making these one-handed catches in mini camp and the OTAs. I was standing right there on the sideline when he made the one-handed catch that Connor actually took the video of and went viral. But it's a lot easier to make one-handed catches when you're one-on-one on air, no pads.
Right.
And now that's why I'm so excited. I love Salah's mentality of they want as many joint practices as they can with these teams so that you can get acclimated much quicker. So I'm really excited to see how he looks against some of the better corners in the NFL.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we're getting close. We're getting close. The training camp starts in less than 3 weeks. And then the Titans have their scrimmage at Nissan Stadium. What is that, like August 6th, August 7th, somewhere?
Yeah, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and check.
The first full weekend of August.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, you're getting joint practices out in San Francisco. So it's going to be here before we know it. And I think Carnell Tate, obviously Cam Ward is going to be under a microscope, but Carnell Tate is the player that and I'm sure a lot of other people are, that's the guy I'm most excited to see what he can do when you're actually in pads, you're facing another team, even if it's just in a practice or a scrimmage. I want to see what Carnell Tate can go do throughout training camp and into the joint practices. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call if you have any thoughts. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll continue talking Titans coming up next. Then at 10:30, we'll get into college football. So it's list season, so I find lists that I can formulate topics off of. We're not going to talk about a list, but ESPN did put out their top 10 coaches in college football right now. I'm going to ask the question coming up at 10:30. If you could have one college football coach for the next decade, who would it be? So that's coming up in just about 20 minutes. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley with you. Been talking Titans, NFL for most of the show so far. All of our football offseason coverage is brought to you by Tennessee Brewworks, finely tuned craft beer for finely tuned fans, and Parman Tractor and Equipment, providing totally outrageous customer service. Visit parmantractor.com. We will wrap up the Titans talk with this. We went through the cornerbacks that Carnell, Tate, and this Titans receiving core are going to have to face. The edge rushers that J.C. Latham and Dan Moore are going to have to face. It's going to be a test for both of those guys who, again, on shaky ground long-term with the Titans. I don't think Dan Moore's here beyond this upcoming season. At the very most, he's gone after 2027. And J.C. Latham trying to prove his worth as the former 7th overall pick. They're not going to have to face either of the top 2 guys on the list, Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett, but have to face Will Anderson twice, have to face Max Crosby, have to face Aiden Hutchinson, have to face Danielle Hunter twice, have to face TJ Watt, have to face Brian Burns. So, again, you're getting a lot of the top pass rushers in the league up against this Titans offensive line that, as we have talked about a ton on this show, Parker, is not exactly elite, not the best group in the league. So J.C. Latham, if he wants to prove that he can be a stalwart franchise right tackle, he's got to do it against some of the best players in the league, including, again, facing the Texans twice in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, which is always going to be tough.
So I've been very pessimistic about the Titans offensive line all week. I'm going to choose to take an optimistic approach here. It's going to be similar to last year because last year as a rookie, Cam Ward also faced a lot of the best defenses in the NFL. So it'll be very similar to last year. But if you look at Daboll's offense compared to what Callahan / Mike McCoy ran when Bo Hardigree took over as the play caller, Brian Daboll runs a lot of option routes, and that's been on full display during OTAs and minicamp, at least what we've been able to see. So that's going to make Cam Ward get the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. So hopefully, even though he's still going to have the pressure, he will be getting the ball out of his hands quicker. So I think it's very conducive for Cam Ward to be in this Daboll offense. I'm excited to see how it goes, but now I'm going to get a little pessimistic because what happens when you have to do some of the longer developing play action concepts?
Yeah, you've got to push the ball downfield.
You have to be able to protect. So if Dan Moore and J.C. Latham both don't step up this year, that could be bad news for Cam Ward, who was sacked a lot last year, right? So that is going to be a concern.
Yeah, and you look at the next 10 that were also receiving votes in this poll. You face Jared Verse, you face Trey Hendrickson, you face Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker twice, Latu twice. You get Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith at the end of the year with the Steelers. So it's, again, the schedule as a whole doesn't look all that difficult on paper, but when you really zoom in on the types of players that the Titans are going to have to face, especially at these premium spots on defense, cornerback and edge rusher, there's going to be some good battles for J.C. Latham and Dan Moore. And again, both guys trying to prove their worth. You spent $80 million on Dan Moore. You spent the 7th overall pick on J.C. Latham. Neither of them were great last year. Now, neither of them were horrible last season. It's not like they were the 2 worst tackles in the league. And, considering the Titans have had the worst tackles in the league a lot over the past half decade, it was an improvement. But you need to see these guys at least be capable when they face the elite pass rush talent that you're going to. Because, again, the pass rush around the division, and Latu isn't exactly a superstar, but he's a good player for the Colts, and the Colts have a decent pass rush. You've also got DeForest Buckner in the middle. But the Jaguars and the Texans, you're going to face those 2 teams twice, and they both have really solid pass rush tandems on the outside with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, and then Hines-Allen and Walker for the Jags.
So going to the Dan Moore aspect of all of this, who played with the Steelers before the Titans signed him, he gave up 15 sacks in his last year. And if you look at who the Titans have to play this year, they're playing all 4 teams from the AFC North, right? Yeah. They're playing the Ravens, they're playing the Browns, they're playing the Bengals. So you won't be facing Myles Garrett, thank goodness, because now he's on LA.
Right.
But you will be facing Trey Hendrickson, and you still have to play Jared Verse because he's now on the Browns. Steelers are always going to have a good defense. So I don't really know. I don't know how much improvement is left in Dan Moore's career because he is 27 years old.
Yeah, right. He's not
exactly old, but he's not, super young either. I just don't know how much more improvement Dan Moore has in the tank.
Yeah, I think
we know what he is.
We put too much faith in Bill Callahan, but I think you got to put some faith in Carmen Brasillo. He is less of an established offensive line coach, although I think he's well regarded around the league, but he's an up and comer, and he's had good stops with the Raiders and the Giants. You hope that he can get a little bit more out of those tackles in JC Latham and Dan Moore, because again, they weren't horrible last year. Both of them had their games where you were like, man, they played really well. Both of them had their games where they were liabilities. And I think consistency is the big word for a lot of players on this Titans team, but especially a guy like JC Latham, who we've seen games where he looks like the type of player you take in the top 10. It just hasn't been week in and week out like you need from a true franchise tackle.
And it's at the same time, like he doesn't have a choice. He has to make that jump this year, but it's also at the same time kind of unfortunate because, he kind of switched around at Alabama and he was the super, high, 5-star recruit coming out of high school. But when you get drafted to the NFL, boom, they put you at left tackle. The Titans put him at left tackle, which is not his true position.
Right.
So now he really and he was hurt a little bit last year. So now he has about a year and a half to prove himself that he can be a starting right tackle in this league.
Yeah.
Which, it doesn't matter what level of ball you play in college. You could be playing at Ohio State. You could be playing at, North Texas, but there is still going to be an acclimation process. And it's just so unfortunate that it's this expedited for JC Latham, but at the same time, it's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah. JC Latham, you don't want to make excuses for him because you take a guy 7th overall. He's got to be a franchise player for you, but he has had to, getting to start at left tackle, and then they're like, oh no, we're going to flip you back to right. And as he's getting accustomed to right tackle, he gets hurt in training camp and then gets hurt again in week 1. So I think you can look at reasons that JC Latham hasn't taken that jump yet and has not become the player you drafted him to be. But time runs out on everybody at some point. And JC Latham, no matter what's happened with him before, again, flipping sides of the line, the injuries, he's got to go out and prove it. Again, you've got this year to decide whether you're going to pick up his 5th-year option, and then probably next year to decide if you're going to extend him. This is a huge year for JC Latham. We saw Peter Skoronski take a jump in year 3. Latham has to do the same thing this year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. We are going to get into some college football coming up at the bottom of the hour in just a few minutes. I teased the question, if you could pick one college football coach to lead your program for the next 10 years, who would it be? We'll talk about that next. But did you see this morning, Parker, Yahoo Sports announced that they are putting college fantasy football?
I did.
Are you a fan of that?
I've never played it before.
I never have either. I don't know. I would have to look more into it. Like, is it Power 4 players only, or is it like the entire country that you have to pick players from? I just think it's too much. Like
that's kind of how I'm feeling too, because I tell myself every year, I think two fantasy football leagues
right.
is more than enough for me. I somehow got roped into doing 4 last year, and I think those leagues are going to renew. At least 3 of them I know for sure are. That's just a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
I would play it, but I got too many other leagues.
Well, and it's like, I think for a lot of us too, college football, you can't watch every game. Like the NFL makes it easy if you watch Red Zone, and they've got a lot of games in prime time, which I know people aren't thrilled about, that they're moving away from most of the games being played on Sunday afternoon. But there are a lot of ways that you can tune in and keep up with every NFL game. I just think I struggle with fantasy baseball. I play in a league with some of my friends that's just, it super chill, nothing on the line, obviously. And I struggle to set my lineup, because there's just so many games, and you lose track of things. I feel like it would be the same way with college fantasy football. So I will not be partaking, but I saw a lot of people really excited about that. I didn't know that was something that people were looking for.
Yeah, I do want to check it out because I've never played it before, played fantasy college football. But 4 leagues was enough to keep up with
Yeah,
last year. And there were a lot of times like I missed out on going to the championship game in the primary league that I'm in because I forgot to change my lineup at the very last second.
Right.
Drake London. He was
Yeah.
out.
I
That
mean,
cost me.
right. It's too much to keep track of. And even if it is just Power 4, you're getting what? Close to 30-something games every single week. And early in the season more because they're not playing each other. So you could have close to 60 games a week that you've got to pay attention to. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that, I think. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's talk some college football coming up next. If you could pick any college football head coach around the country to lead your program for 10 years, and, actually, we can open this up. It doesn't have to be a current college football head coach. If we had a texter text in a current NFL coordinator, if you've got a coach that you think would be better than some of the current guys, send them in. 615-737-1025. We'll give our answers coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game.
Mountains, Boone, North Carolina. Pioneers are respected. Mountaineers are revered. Appalachian State, stunned Texas A&M, have fueled an intoxicating rise into rarefied mountaineer.
Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Man, just gets me ready for fall. Reese Davis, his monologues going into College Game Day are just elite every single week.
Every time.
Like, I take pride in, like, I script my opens for Vanderbilt pregame shows, and I try and have like some creative stuff in there, but it's nothing close to that. Like, and I'm sure he might have some help with writing some of those, but man, Reese Davis, one of the best. Just you said I was going to get chills. I did get chills hearing that.
I know. I still have chills on my arm.
We are trying to count down the days here to college football. It's going to be a little bit here, but we are under 2 months away from week 1. And ESPN continues to rank things left and right, whether it's the NFL, college football. They rank the top 10 coaches in college football right now. But it made me think there's a difference between obviously who you would want to coach your program at this exact moment or who you want to build your program long-term. So I'm asking the question, if you could have one coach to coach your college football program for the next 10 years, who would it be? Okay, and this is a tough question, Parker, because like Curt Cignetti, ESPN ranked him as the best coach in college football right now. And I think there's probably little to no argument against that. He built Indiana from the worst historical program in college football to a playoff team in 1 year to a national champion in 2 years. So I think he is the best coach in college football right now, but he's 67. So is he going to be coaching at the same high level into his mid 70s? I don't know. Possibly. Who do you think you would take for the next 10 years to be your college football head coach, Parker?
Okay, so I looked. Cignetti's actually through contract at Indiana through 2033. So for the next 7 years. Now, I'm with you. Curt Cignetti's the best coach in college football right now, no question about it. But if we're talking longevity, I'm going to go a different route. So I have one clear-cut answer in mind for me, at least as of right now. So it would also be easy to go Kirby Smart here because if you think about it, they won 2 straight national championships. But in this day and age of college football with transfer portal and NIL, I don't think dynasty has the same meaning as it did back when Nick Saban was coaching Alabama.
Yeah,
a guy that I really like and that typical players coach, knows how to establish a rock-solid culture, is a very good recruiter. People want to play for him. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I love Marcus Freeman. He's actually at number 4 on this list that ESPN put out. That's one of the first names that comes to mind for me is Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I really like Marcus Freeman. And I wish we had talked about this with Corey yesterday because Corey is the biggest Marcus Freeman fan out there. He wanted him to be the Titans coach. I think it comes down to 4 names. Marcus Freeman is one of them. And again, I really, Curt Cignetti, I don't want to act like he couldn't be a dominant, great head coach for the next 10 years. But when you're that age, I don't know if a decade is realistic for him. I think you've got probably 5 to 7 more years of Curt Cignetti at Indiana. So Marcus Freeman, Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Dan Lanning. Those are the 4 that I think are in that elite tier and they've still got plenty of time ahead of them. It's really tough when I look at all 4 of those. I think Kirby Smart still only 50, 51. Like he's not super.
Yeah. He's still got some gas in the tank for sure. Absolutely.
Right. He's still got future out in front of him. And he's won 2 national championships. So
here's the other thing too. You remember Kirby Smart took over as a head coach before NIL became a thing.
Yeah.
And we've seen a fair amount of coaches get out of it because it's just too much to deal with.
That is true.
So it wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years we see a major college football coach take another job just because it's too much to deal with.
At Georgia, there are other things going on there too,
right?
Off the field
exactly.
that he might have to deal with.
And think about how young guys like Marcus Freeman are, where this is the only thing they know.
Yeah,
is how to operate in this type of environment, this type of ecosystem.
I really like all 4 of them. Like I think there are pros and cons to all of them, and I think you look and you say Kirby Smart's won 2 natties. Ryan Day has won a national championship. Was he the coordinator when they won under Urban Meyer? No, I think he was a little bit after that.
Yeah, he was after.
He was a little bit after that.
We may need Dr. Locke to fact check
But
us on that.
he won the national championship 2 years ago. I don't know why I like Dan Lanning so much. Like I think Dan Lanning at Oregon it's a perfect fit. I know that they have come up short in a big way in the postseason over these last 2 years. They were the number 1 overall seed 2 years ago, and they lose to Ohio State. Not just lose, they get blown out by Ohio State. Then last year, just got boat raced by Indiana. The pick 6 early from Dante Moore and never were able to recover. Eugene, where he got offered that Alabama job, at least the way it was reported, and he turned it down to stay with the Ducks. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go with Dan Lanning, even over guys like Kirby Smart and Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman, even though I think all 4, there's an argument to be made there. Beyond that, I think you're getting to a different tier of player, but all 4 of those guys, there's arguments to be made. I was leaning Kirby Smart early just because he has the pedigree, but there's something about Dan Lanning, Parker.
That was my second answer, because Dan Lanning, like every time you listen to him talk, don't you just want to run through a brick wall for the man?
Yes.
And that's so important, is having that relationship with the players now more than ever.
I think he's a good recruiter. I think he's a great motivator, and he was a large part of building those dominant defenses at Georgia before he went to Oregon. Like, he was the defensive coordinator there. I just think you've got a full package with Dan Lanning. Now, who knows if he's ever going to be able to take that step and actually win a championship. But if I'm looking at the coaches who haven't done it yet that I believe are going to, I think Lanning tops that list for me, with Freeman shortly behind.
And Notre Dame and Oregon both are going to be national championship contenders this year. I mean, Oregon was 1 win away from the national championship last year, but of course ran into the buzzsaw that was Indiana, which who didn't get blown out by Indiana last year. So
right,
Oregon will be a national championship contender. They recruit very well. And the thing that I give Dan Lanning props for the most is, how good those Oregon teams were, under like guys like Chip Kelly and Mark Helfrich back when they had Mariota in 2014 and those years. They were built primarily on speed, but when they would like play, teams from the SEC, Big Ten, teams that were more physical, they didn't necessarily match up pound for pound. He's built an SEC Big Ten style out on the West Coast.
Yep.
And I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember, was it 2020? It was 2022 when that was Lanning's first year at Oregon, and they opened the season in Atlanta against Georgia. And I remember this vividly. I was driving back from Norfolk to Blacksburg because Brent Pry had just lost to ODU in his first game as the head coach at Virginia
remember
Tech.
That day.
I was at that game. I was calling that game for our student station. And so on the way home, I was like, oh, I'll listen to some college football because that game was Friday night. So you had a full day on Saturday. And I was listening to Oregon and Georgia, and they were just getting the brakes beat off them. I mean, the Ducks had no chance against Georgia. And to see what he's been able to do and build that team into a legitimate contender in 3-4 years, it's been really fun to watch. So I'm going Dan Lanning. I know that he doesn't have the skins on the wall. He doesn't have the championships yet, but I just think there's a lot of upward trajectory with Dan Lanning in that program.
And some people, that's all that matters. Oh, you don't have a national championship. Well, what have you won? Well, he's won a lot of football games. Yep. That's the truth.
He was the Big Ten champion last year.
He hasn't won. I mean, so think about, people said that about Kirby Smart, then he rattled off 2 in a row. People said that about Ryan Day, then he won in the first year of the 12 team. And now they're saying it about Dan Lanning. I think he will get his within the next 5 years. I mean, this year they have a really good shot as well. Yep. So we'll have to see.
615-737-1025. We want to get your thoughts on this. What college football coach do you want leading your program for the next 10 years? Let's go to the phone lines. Dustin in Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I base this off of who would I want to come to UK and turn the program around in 1 to 2 years. Now, these two guys I think one was already there, but we had old stupid over top of him. It's Liam Cohen. Look what he's done with Trevor Lawrence. That team is probably the best team in the AFC South right now. I mean, you got Daniel Jones got injured and whatnot, but I think I'd rather face the Colts. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but Liam Cohen has really made them a better team, and he obviously can coach at both levels. I think if they'd have looked inward and said, let's let Liam Cohen coach for a couple years, I don't know. He's not a recruiter, so I don't know. But when he went to the NFL, it's proven he can coach. So, but that was when I found out you guys said it'd be okay to have NFL coaches.
Yeah.
So my one is Ryan Day, just because day one he will recruit and he don't have to coach very well at all. I'll need a recruiter and then to hire the guys around him and just watch it play out, which Ryan Day can coach too. But I think Ryan Day, we'd have great wide receivers, and we could have a mid-tier quarterback all the time and still win. And we'd have great football in Kentucky.
I like it. Ryan Day definitely deserves to be in that conversation. I like the Liam Cohen pull. He can Big Blue.
That would have a better ring than Duval.
Like I said, if we didn't go with him because he can't get the recruits. But obviously, if he ever had the recruits, the man can coach. So there you go.
Yeah.
But I appreciate old stupid leaving. I'm looking forward to Will Stein.
Thanks for the call, Dustin. Yeah, Will Stein coming over from Dan Lanning in Oregon. So we'll see how that pans out. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Text or call if you have thoughts. What college football head coach would you want leading your program for the next 10 years? We will get more of your reaction coming up next. And I do have a dark horse that I like that maybe isn't in this conversation yet, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, we might be talking about him as one of the best coaches in college football. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game.
all roads leading to Eugene, and I can't help but say, hey, you make me wanna jump, put my hands up and pick my heels up and all again now. A little bit something now, 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 a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now, a little bit louder.
Back-to-back college game day bumps coming back.
This made, when you were talking about Dan Lanning, it just made me think of this because this was at Oregon when they played Ohio State 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's so funny how many schools have adopted shout as their thing. And Oregon started it because that's where Animal House was filmed. And that's where the clip comes from of everybody in the bar. And that it was filmed in Eugene. So Oregon started it, but Virginia Tech thinks that shout is its tradition also. There's every sporting event, there's a video with a whole bunch of clips. And every time you say shout, there's a horse running on a treadmill. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But Vanderbilt now does it. And Vanderbilt fans think it's like their tradition. It's funny. Everybody thinks that they created shout, but Oregon, I mean, you got Animal House, you win. But that was awesome. And I'm excited to see what Oregon does this year. Glenn from Greenbrier, we were just talking about Will Stein. He says Lanning lost his OC. We'll see how it goes without him there.
Didn't he lose Dillingham too and replaced him?
That's
with Will
true.
Stein?
That's true. Let's see what does Oregon's schedule look like this year. I know
it's pretty tough.
I know they play.
It's pretty tough. Not as tough as last year's.
They play
don't
Ohio
have
State.
Indiana.
They open with Boise State at home. Oklahoma State, who could be better this year with Mestamaker coming over from North Texas. USC in LA. Ohio State, Michigan, Washington. Yeah, it's not an easy schedule for Dan Lanning and company. So we'll see what they can do in 2026.
And don't gloss over UCLA either. I think they can be sneaky with Bob Chesney.
All right.
I'm a big Bob Chesney believer.
Well, they're recruiting really well.
Yeah, they are
at UCLA.
And they stunk last year, but I think Bob Chesney is like day one, establishing the culture. I think he'll get them turned around.
James Madison.
I'm a believer in Bob Chesney.
Just a coaching factor.
And he's done it the right way. I mean, he started from like Division III, worked his way up the ranks. I'm a huge fan of Bob Chesney.
Yeah, JMU, Signetti, of course, is the main one. Went to Indiana and has now won a national championship in 2 years. Now you see Chesney at UCLA. How about Mark Byington right here in Nashville coming over from JMU and turning Vanderbilt.
Coaching factory.
Right.
JMU.
If you want a good coach in one of your sports, just go to JMU. You'll find somebody.
You know who's their coach this year?
Yes, it's Sunbelt Billy.
Yes,
yeah,
it is. He's back.
Sunbelt Billy, back where he belongs. Billy Napier is the head coach.
And he has finally given up play calling duties.
I was hoping they would get DJ Lagway to come to James Madison, just right there in Harrisonburg. I would have loved it. We're taking your reaction, 615-737-1025. We asked the question, what coach would you like to lead your program for the next 10 years, for the next decade? So not just this year, but over the long haul. 6802 says the obvious answer is Alex Golesh from a jaded, sarcastic Auburn fan. I like Golesh, but
he did escape communism in Russia with his family.
If you can do that,
I'm not going to doubt you. I'm not going to doubt you.
No, I'm rooting for Alex Golesh. I mean, I don't love Auburn. I don't hate Auburn, but I thought what he did with USF was impressive last year. So we'll see how he does there. 7268 asks a good question. Of coaches that haven't done it yet, where does Lane Kiffin rank? Outside of his ability to develop guys, he doesn't win the big ones. Lane Kiffin is an enigma to me in this conversation because it's not like he's a young up-and-comer anymore. Like, he's been coaching high-level football for a very long time and hasn't been able to get over the hump. Now, he is a very good recruiter, and we obviously saw what he was able to do with Ole Miss and building that team up into a college football playoff team. Now he's got more resources at LSU. I don't know. Like, Kiffin, I think he's not a riser anymore. He's got to prove that he's not just a second tier head coach around the country.
Right. I think he'll definitely have the resources aspect. He'll definitely embrace Louisiana, and they'll embrace him because that's where Brian Kelly went wrong from the very beginning. He didn't embrace Louisiana. If you're going to be the head coach at Louisiana State University, you got to embrace Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I think Lane Kiffin is going to do that. And he has they spent upwards of $45 million this year on their team. So he's going to have the pieces, but now he actually has to cook the meal instead of buying the groceries.
Right. So we'll see what Lane Kiffin does, but I think he's one of those guys that I don't know. So I wouldn't put him in this conversation yet. Dark horse name that comes to mind when I think of this, and like who in 3 years could we talk about as one of the best coaches in college football? I love Mike Elko at Texas A&M. I really do. And A&M obviously is known as a team that just like can't get over the hump no matter who's been there. And of course, like with Jimbo, you expected that he was going to be the one to turn things around and get them into the championship conversation, and it didn't happen. But I love Mike Elko. I think he goes about things the right way. I really like anytime he speaks, I feel like there's something valuable you can take from it. And he's an elite recruiter. I mean, they got the number 1 class in the country right now at Texas A&M. So I'm not putting Elko in this conversation. I wouldn't say he's in that tier with the Freemans, the Days, the Smarts, and all that. But I wonder if a few years down the road, if we're talking about Mike Elko as one of the best coaches in college football.
I certainly think that'll be the case. He already has familiarity with how they do things in College Station because he was the defensive coordinator there before he took the head coaching job at Duke. He can recruit, culture established. That's something that why am I blanking on this? Jimbo didn't do. So right. I think he's already off to a much better start there, making the college football playoff in year 2. I'm excited to see what they can do. So I went really underrated, like really underrated.
So yeah, you're going down the list.
He's actually mentioned in the honorable mentions. Oh. So Eric Morris at Oklahoma State had the number 1 offense in the country last year with Drew Mestamaker at quarterback at North Texas. He basically took North Texas offense, imported it in Stillwater. And this is the only era he's ever known how to do things in the NIL transfer portal era. That is something that Gundy didn't embrace. Now, I don't necessarily agree with how Oklahoma State went about firing him, but I believe they got a very good replacement, an up-and-comer. By the way, Eric Morris coached Cam Ward at Incarnate Word. Yeah. So, and he's worked with Patrick Mahomes. Dude knows how to develop quarterbacks. Yeah. That's where I'm going. Yeah. Eric Morris, Oklahoma State.
It is funny. So again, we kind of put our own twist on this list of top 10 coaches right now in college football. We read off the top 5. Sarkisian is 6, Lane Kiffin 7, Mike Elko 8, Kyle Whittingham 9, Mario Cristobal and Kalen DeBoer tied at 10. Corey Curtis isn't going to be very happy about who's number 11.
Is it Brett Bielema?
It's Dabo Sweeney, who he thinks is getting fired.
By the way, I can't wait to go to Waffle House.
Yeah, Corey. I'm excited. That'll be great.
Yeah.
We just got to get through like January, so it'll be sometime
into the regular season, right? December, January.
We'll make it count. 4312 has texted in a couple times saying, and this is like real dark horse. He says Art Smith. I love Arthur Smith. I mean, I think he's a good coach. We obviously saw the 2 best Titans era offenses have come with Art Smith as the offensive coordinator. But he says Art Smith, he's an OC at Ohio State under Ryan Day right now. Does he get a chance?
That's out of the box.
Yeah, it's out of the box. I like it. He says he'll learn a year or 2 under Ryan Day, and then he'll take off.
And he has plenty of an embarrassment of riches at Ohio State.
Yeah. And ranked 6th on this list is Sarkisian. And 1178 says, and this is John in Nashville, says, my school already has the coach I want for a decade. Steve Sarkisian is an incredible play caller and great recruiter. Connections to all the right pools. You need to get smart minds around him for the rest of the staff. Hook him. I agree. He's probably in that next tier. I don't know if I'd put him in the 4 that I mentioned of Smart, Day, Lanning, Freeman, but I think he's right there beyond that as somebody that I think could win a national championship over the next few years.
Surprised that Mario Cristobal's not higher.
Yeah.
Because he's at 10.
Yeah.
I mean, after getting to the national championship last year.
I don't like Cristobal that much. Like, I understand that he had a great year. I'm not a huge fan of him.
I just look at it every year. Miami has improved in their win total, and getting to the national championship last year was huge.
Well, and they're going to be good again this year. I mean,
I think they can be better.
You've got Mensa now,
which is hard to be better after making the national championship game.
Malachi Toney is just absolutely
unbelievable.
electric.
They got Duke's leading receiver to pair with Mensa.
Yep. They've still got Mark Fletcher in the backfield.
Defense is going to be good.
Yep.
Got the best offensive tackle in the country last year in Jackson Cantwell.
Yeah.
Offensive line's not going to be an issue, even though they're replacing a lot of guys.
It's going to be a good Miami team this year. Now, Cristobal is a good coach. I don't think if I had to choose from this pool of coaches, like, hey, he's going to come in and lead your program, I don't know if I'd put Cristobal in that conversation.
But below Mike Elko and below Kyle Whittingham, who both never made a national title.
Right. That is a good point. That is a good point.
Kalen DeBoer is also tied for 10 with.
Yes, he is.
And he made a national championship game with Washington.
Yes, he did. Yeah, with Penix and Roma Dunze. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on this. We got 4702. Clay in the Borough says, of course, I'm a Vandy homer, but I'd take Clark Lee. Somebody actually agrees with you on this poll. We will talk about Clark Lee coming up next to start off hour number 3. We'll talk more college football. We'll talk some World Cup. The quarterfinals get going today. All of that coming up in the final hour of the show. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, final hour on this Thursday, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking some college football here. I just realized that Robbie had the Scottish Open on behind me during their show this morning, which I guess means the British Open's next week.
I guess so.
I was very happy to look over and see Patrick Reed was in the fescue. Hate that guy. Anyway, we asked the question, what coach would you like to lead your program for the next 10 years? Any college football coach that you can think of. We came to a list of 4-ish, and don't want to exclude Kurt Signetti because he definitely deserves to be in the conversation. But in terms of guys that you think are going to be in the prime of their career for the next 10 years, Smart, Day, Lanning, Freeman were the 4 we landed on. Sarkisian's been mentioned. Kiffin's been mentioned. Elko. You brought up Eric Morris from Oklahoma State, who just came over from North Texas. Clark Lee did get a vote for being one of the best coaches in college football right now. And I'm not saying that he would be in this conversation by any means, because again, you got to have some skins on the wall. You got to be in the playoff. You got to be fighting for national championships to be in this conversation. But in terms of what he's done over the last 2 years, after losing 10 straight games to end the 2024 season, then coming back, being bowl eligible in 2025 or 2024, and then in 2025, going and getting the first 10-win season in program history. Really unbelievable stuff from Clark Lee. I asked the question, if you could choose Clark Lee or Josh Heupel for the next 10 years, who would you pick?
You're putting me in a real predicament here, Jake. Oh, that's okay.
There's always
ball fans, please don't be upset with me. Please, I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. I will go Clark Lee by a slight margin because getting 10 wins during the regular season at Vanderbilt has never been done before. And I've had several conversations with Clark Lee. I love Clark Lee. The way that he goes about his process and understanding, like, okay, this guy's a defensive mind. He's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, bringing in people like Tim Beck and Jerry Kill to be able to basically coach the offense and surround yourself with the caliber of coach that he brought in and get to where Vanderbilt has gotten. And then also being able to beat out teams like Georgia for 5-star quarterbacks. When has that ever happened before?
Never.
So we're seeing him do kind of the unthinkable at a place like Vanderbilt, who has never really had too much of a history in football.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning Clark Lee.
I am too. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. I'm just so impressed with what Clark Lee did. I always talk about it with Clark Lee of just the self-awareness and not being stuck in his ways. I think we see it with a lot of coaches that it's their way or the highway, and they're going to do it their way until the wheels fall off and they get fired. And Clark Lee, I think everybody can agree after the 2023 season, when you lose 10 straight games, that his back was against the wall. They had finally gotten over the hump and won a couple of SEC games the year before, beating Kentucky, beating Florida. And then you come back the next year and you lose 10 straight to end the season. Back's against the wall. Instead of just plugging away and saying, no, I'm going to keep doing it this way because I think it's going to work and this is how I've always done it, he changed things. He brought in Jerry Kill to help him as a special assistant to the head coach. He brought in Tim Beck to revolutionize the offense. He kind of took a more hands-on approach with the defense. And you can see the results of just not being stubborn and not saying, no, I'm going to do it my way. And it's other people who have led to the lack of success that they had early on in his tenure at Vanderbilt. He changed the way he does things, and it's led to the results that we have seen. So I think I will go Lee too. I think Josh Heupel's a really good football coach, and I don't want that to be misconstrued. I think Josh Heupel's a good football coach, but I think Clark Lee just has kind of that it factor, and guys just love playing for Clark Lee. And they probably do for Heupel too, but after last year, I think I would struggle to not get on the Clark Lee hype train.
And Josh Heupel, he's entering year 6, and he's been a little slower to make some of those changes because Josh Heupel is very much, go with coaches that he's had connections with in the past, right? Well, a decision needed to be made at defensive coordinator this year. And at first, I wasn't sure if Josh Heupel was actually going to make the tough decision, and he did. So I give him credit for that. And he brought in Jim Knowles, and Jim Knowles brought over a bunch of his assistants from Penn State. So the more changes like that we start to see, where Josh Heupel also bringing in Derek Owings from Indiana, their strength coach, that was a fantastic move, probably the best move of the offseason for him.
Yep.
So the more that we see Josh Heupel start to make decisions like that, I think the more respect he's going to get across the nation in terms of being a college football head coach.
Yeah, it's a big year for both of these guys. And for Clark Lea, again, I continue to say, like, success isn't linear. And so even if they take a step back this year, that doesn't mean that the program isn't going in the right direction. Like, you can go 7-5 this year and still feel like you have growth potential moving forward with the young pieces that you have on this team. But it's a big year for Clark Lea to prove that Vanderbilt it wasn't just Diego being there, that this is a program-wide shift to being a contender in the SEC. So big year for Clark Lea in that sense. And for Josh Heupel, I think everybody agrees it's a big year because you're coming off a disappointing season last year, 8-4 in the regular season. You end the year with that blowout loss against Vanderbilt at home, and then you fall in the bowl game to Illinois. You'd like to see that team at least be on the edge of playoff contention this year, which is going to be difficult given that you have an inexperienced quarterback, whether it's McIntyre or Faison Brandon. So I think expectations are high for Heupel. He's got to at least get, I think you'd like a 9-win season for the Vols, but that's easier said than done. I just saw a clip from somebody on Twitter. I might have to find it. Somebody said that their hot take is the Vols are going to make the playoffs, and he doesn't understand why this is even a hot take. Tennessee's got a good roster, but if it's looking like a true freshman is going to be your starting quarterback, I don't know if I can preseason pick that team to make a run to the playoff, right? I'd say the same thing about Vanderbilt. True freshman quarterback are young. They're going to have to learn a lot early on in the season and into SEC play. I don't know if I can preseason be like, yeah, that team's going to the playoff.
Yeah, it's hard for me to be that optimistic about both programs as it stands right now, just because we don't know who's going to start at quarterback for the Vols. We don't know. We have a good idea that it's probably going to be Jared Curtis starting at quarterback, but when you're starting a freshman at quarterback, there's so much unknown that you can't say, oh, without a doubt, both of these teams are making the college football playoff. That's not how this works.
Ricky on the text line says Tennessee's floor is 9-3.
That would be incredible. That's not true, though.
I mean, let me find.
They went 8-5 last year.
Texas at home, you're an underdog.
They went 7-6 in Josh Heupel's first year.
Alabama at home, you're an underdog. At Texas A&M, you're an underdog. LSU at home, you're an underdog. So there you go. There's 4 that I just found where you would not be favored to win. And there are other toss-ups in there. Like, I think at Georgia Tech, especially early in the season, not going to be easy. At South Carolina could be difficult, as we've seen in the past. At Vanderbilt at the end of the year, definitely not a gimme. So, yeah, I would not say 9-3 is the floor. I would say I would guess they go 8-4 this year if I had to pick. But obviously, we don't know until we actually see the teams suit up. Nevada Josh with a good question. What college would you say has the best duo of coaches, basketball coach and football coach at the same school? I have to rack my brain to think of let me look at the rankings of the football head coaches and see if I can think of.
You can't say Michigan because Dusty May's gone.
So Indiana's is it's West Virginia's former head coach, right? What's his name?
Oh, DeVries.
DeVries, yeah.
Darian DeVries.
I wouldn't say he's up there. Ryan Day and Diebler at Ohio State, meh. Oregon, who's Oregon's basketball head coach?
Dana Altman.
Oh, yeah, Altman. Yeah, that's a good one. Lanning and Altman would be good, although they haven't been as good
Alabama.
lately.
Nate Oates and
DeBoer is good. Kiffin and Will Wade.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Michigan, you can't really
Will,
say anymore.
Will Wade may not be able to get a team on the court this year.
Yeah. No, it's that is I wouldn't say them just because I don't like them. Man, that's a tough question because a lot of would you say maybe Houston with like Willie Fritz is a good
Willie Fritz
coach,
is good.
and then why am I blank on their basketball coach's name?
Kelvin Sampson.
Calvin Sampson. Yeah. So that would be I would say that's up there. If you're thinking like elite basketball coaches,
it's hard to say. I'm Golden and Summerall. Summerall hasn't been a Power 4 coach yet.
Yeah. Do you think like Shire and Diaz, like Manny, they just won the ACC?
Because Diaz, his career is kind of stained by his stint at Miami.
Yeah. Looking through the AP top 25 for basketball at the end of the year.
I mean, Heupel and Barnes is
Heupel and Barnes definitely would be in the
Lee.
Yeah, they
not bad
up there.
I'd probably lean Alabama.
Yeah, I think Oates and DeBoer
because there's a national championship appearance in football there, and then there's a Final Four appearance, and what, like 4 straight Sweet 16s?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it is Alabama. I think you could probably put Houston in that conversation too, but it's a good question. Appreciate Nevada Josh. AB says Texas Tech.
Oh, McCaslin and
McGuire.
And
McGuire. That's
okay.
That's
yeah,
solid.
That's not bad.
That's
Certainly
solid.
top 5, I'd say.
Yeah. There's that's
Grant McCaslin never made
it was
Chris Beard.
Yeah, it was Chris Beard who made the Final Four with when they lost to that other team.
We won't acknowledge them.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. We will continue college football talk, get into some other things towards the end of the show here. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Been a fun show talking some NFL, college football. We'll get into the World Cup later on. I know the U.S. is out, but there are some exciting games coming up. Quarterfinals start today. Yesterday on the show, I went through my top 10 college football games, Parker, coming up this year. And I know you were working on one. I don't want to give all of it away because if you want to know Parker's full top 10, I believe you can tune in for the air raid tonight.
6 p.m.
6
on
p.m.
my YouTube and 102.5's The Game YouTube as well.
There
and
you
Twitter.
go.
So multiple ways to watch.
So
please join us.
Tune in for the air raid tonight with Parker Kelley. But do you have some underrated games that you thought of, maybe not in your top 10, but as you were going through this exercise that you came across that maybe we didn't talk about yesterday?
Yeah, a couple. So I did a version of this with the Big 12 because I talked about the Big 12 on my first show because it was just media days and stuff like that.
Right.
The third week of the season I think is going to be interesting for it's Texas Tech and Houston. So this game will be played in Lubbock. This could be a preview of the Big 12 championship this year. I still think it's Texas Tech in the field with BYU right behind Tech, but Houston I'd put firmly in that third spot right now. So that's Texas Tech's real first challenge, and they don't have many of them this season. And Houston has a much tougher schedule, but there's a thing about Willie Fritz where his teams just kind of take off in year 3.
Yeah.
And that's when his winning percentage is at their highest. And they have a top 10 transfer portal class, which most people don't realize.
Yeah.
So that is definitely one of those games.
Yeah, I think we talked about it when we previewed the Big 12 a little bit because their media days were this week. And we talked about it on Monday that Houston is the team that's being slept on the most in that league. Everybody's going to talk about Texas Tech, the Sorsby stuff, even more so, even though you're losing the quarterback. They've put themselves into the national spotlight. BYU and Utah are always talented teams, but I think Houston's probably right there behind them in a Big 12 that relatively weak this year. I mean, outside of those teams, you always keep an eye on Dillingham and Arizona State. Arizona's got Noah Fafita back for another year. So Kansas State has Avery Johnson back for another year. So it's like they're decent teams, but I do think Houston is being slept on as we head towards the season.
And the thing about the Big 12, why it was so entertaining and fun to watch, is because since Oklahoma, ran off a string of Big 12 championships when they were still in the league, they've had a different winner every single year.
Yeah.
And it's never really been the same team. And it's just been so much fun because it's jumbled. But now with the way Texas Tech is spending money and really embracing this era that we're in, Texas Tech has kind of pulled away from the pack, even without Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at that next tier, I'd certainly consider Houston. I have no idea what to expect from Utah this year. Zero. Because they had 11 wins last year, but they have a new head coach. They have a new offensive coordinator. It's the same defensive scheme, but just because your defensive coordinator is taking over as head coach doesn't mean the defense will stay the same.
Right.
Because he's not calling plays anymore.
Yeah.
And they only returned 2 starters from last year's team. Their quarterback, Devin Dampier, and their running back, Wayshawn Parker. So outside of that, they have 5 games of starting experience on the offensive front. It's not good.
Yeah. And Utah, I think, takes a step back this year, which you look at Houston's schedule. And you mentioned that Texas Tech game in Lubbock. That is on September 18th. So that's a Friday night in Lubbock. I kind of like that. Friday night game, possibly previewing the Big 12 championship. The rest of their schedule, UCF, Kansas State, Oklahoma State going to be better this year with Eric Morris. At Utah, Cincinnati, at Colorado, at West Virginia, Baylor. Like, that's not a lot of Big 12 schedules are scary, but that one especially so looks pretty weak for Houston. And maybe we could see the Cougars make a run all the way to Dallas for the Big 12 title game.
It's certainly a possibility. I wouldn't put it past Willie Fritz, who's, in my opinion, one of the more underrated coaches in the country, certainly not talked about enough within the Big 12. But since we just mentioned Utah, I'll mention this game because how often do we see Arkansas go to Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
For a 9:15 kickoff?
Late night.
I mean, Utah may not be good this year. Arkansas may not be good this year. I'd be willing to bet they're not. But that could be fun. These games that we don't typically see, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I like it. Week 2. So, and Texas, Ohio State is going to be a primetime game thankfully, this year, instead of last year when they started at noon. So you're going to be able to watch Texas, Ohio State, and roll right into Utah and Arkansas in week 1 on September the 12th. I love it. Or week 2, excuse me.
Here's another one that was not brought up yesterday, probably will not make the cut for me tonight. USC goes to Penn State in October.
Yeah.
I think USC is going to make the playoff this year. I think Penn State has an outside chance just because it's basically Iowa State just in Penn State uniforms. That's all it is. And if you don't believe me, go look at their schedule. I mean, their schedule is super easy.
Yeah,
so
we went through it with Corey.
Penn State going 10-2 would not surprise me. I'd probably have them at 9-3, but I think it's going to be the whiteout because that's Penn State's most notable home game. And that's just fun. That would be fun. Do you remember how fun it was seeing Oregon go to Penn State last year? It could have the exact same feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that game feels like a fever dream looking back, knowing what we know now. That was number 2 Penn State against number 3 Oregon, I want to say. Like, they were both top 5 teams. And we were talking about this as like, man, the winner is going to be in the driver's seat to go to the Big Ten title game and maybe even be the number 1 overall seed in the playoff. And Penn State loses that game in overtime at home. And 3 weeks later, James Franklin is fired. Like, how crazy is it thinking back to that game and the way we framed Penn State in our head at that moment to literally within a month, James Franklin's out the door.
If somebody would have told you, I mean, they were a preseason top 3 team to then having their coach fired before Halloween. If you would have said that in the preseason, you would have got laughed at.
Right. Everybody was talking about Penn State of this is the year for them. And then you lose to UCLA and Northwestern in back-to-back weeks. Obviously, it's not your year anymore, but man, it just shows you how quickly things can change in college football.
And when the same thing happened to Brian Kelly, because a lot of us were talking the same way about LSU and Garrett Nussmeier in his final season, that's when I stopped saying, that prediction is, or if somebody makes a prediction that I think is off the wall crazy,
right?
Well, just go rewind the clock to last year and see what happened. And I may think you're wrong. I may think that it won't happen, but I can't rule it out because, who expected that to happen?
That's what we were talking about with Corey yesterday when he's saying Dabo's going to get fired and we're kind of laughing it off and saying there's no chance. There's a chance in this era of college football. You just never know. Last game I wanted to get your thoughts on, Parker. And again, if you want Parker's in-depth look at some of the best college football games coming up in 2026, tune in 6 p.m. tonight for the Air Raid with Parker Kelley on the Air Raid Parker Kelley YouTube channel and 1025 The Game's YouTube channel. You brought this game up yesterday, and I don't see the intrigue as much. You said Texas Tech Cincinnati is one to keep an eye on. With Sorsby not playing, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I do understand that, like, if he was playing, that would have been a hostile environment going back to Cincy.
See, you're right. If Sorsby was playing, this would be right up there with like Ole Miss, LSU.
Right,
it would be below.
Revenge games,
but yeah,
suit him for $1 million. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal.
I still think. Because, we are in this generation of like the age group of these players. I still think there's some underlying motives there. It's not going to have the same appeal if Sorsby was playing, but I still think there's some underlying motives because Cincinnati's in a legal battle with Sorsby right now.
Yeah.
And the players that played with Sorsby have not forgotten about that. And Texas Tech, we all know that if Sorsby was eligible, they would have played him regardless of whatever accusations have been made towards him. So I do think there are some underlying motives there. It's not going to have the same appeal, and Texas Tech may whoop them 60-0, but there are going to be some underlying motives.
Yeah, I do think there will be a little extra to that game, but Sorsby not playing obviously dilutes that a lot. It's not going to be quite as feisty as we expected it to be. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And again, tune in tonight. Parker Kelley going to give his top 10 college football games of 2026. The Air Raid with Parker Kelley coming up at 6 p.m. We got 30 minutes left in the show. We'll bounce around a little bit to wrap up the program. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Couple more segments on the show. Again, no TD today. Usually in on Thursdays. He'll be with us tomorrow. He's got some baseball to watch today. And TD always presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. We rarely do baseball segments on this show, but I felt like today I had to at least bring this up. Justin Verlander announced his retirement from baseball at the end of this season. He has been named a commissioner's choice for the MLB All-Star Game next week. And as someone who grew up with Justin Verlander being my favorite player, I just wanted to shout him out for, 2 decades of excellence at the MLB level. He has been an Iron Man during his stops around the league, whether it was with the Tigers for such a long time to start his career. Obviously fell short of bringing a World Series back to Detroit, losing in 2006 early in his career, then in 2012 to the Giants. Came up short in the ALCS a couple of times, finally getting those World Series championships during his time with the Astros, and, spent some time with the Mets and the Giants since then as well. But man, what a career for Justin Verlander. One of the last remaining powerhouse right-handed arms that we've seen at the MLB level the last few years. The longevity that he's had. I mean, even last year, he was good down the stretch for the Giants. He hasn't been able to do much with the Tigers this year. His body just not holding up. But
he's 43 years old, right?
He's 43 years old, still doing it at a high level last year. His body, I think, has finally said, you can't keep pitching at the MLB level. But congratulations to Justin Verlander on an excellent career. I have one request for him, though. He's going to have to choose which cap he goes into the MLB Hall of Fame wearing. It better be the Old English D. I know he won his championships in Houston, but he is always going to be a Tiger in Detroit's mind, and I think in most of the national MLB fan base's mind. So go in with the Old English D on your cap, not the Houston Astros.
So who else would he go in? What other team?
It would be Houston or Detroit.
But he spent so much of his career with the Tigers.
Yes.
More than any other team. So I would just like to come out and say that I support your fight in this. I hope that he goes in as a Tiger as well. It should. He spent 12 years with them, right? During his, the very start of his career.
Yep.
And then is wrapping up with Detroit.
Yeah, so
it just makes sense.
He played 12 and a half years with the Tigers from 2005 to 2017 when he was traded to the Astros. He then won a couple of World Series in Houston, spent some time with the Mets, went back to the Astros after that, then the Giants, but 14 years in Detroit. And I don't count this year. He's only pitched 3 2/3 innings and got shelled in Arizona, but a 3.51 ERA during his time with the Tigers, 2,300 strikeouts in 2,500 innings. I mean, he is a Tiger. He pitched 3 times as many innings for the Tigers as he did with the Astros. He better be going in as a Tiger. I know he won his World Series in Houston, but he was the MVP in Detroit. He was the Cy Young twice in Detroit. He deserves to go in as a Tiger. And I do hope he gets back out onto the mound at some point. He has been struggling to get healthy. They've announced his return to the mound at Comerica Park twice, and both times he's been put on the injured list before he can get there. So I don't know how much he's actually going to be out there the rest of the season, but I would like to see him grace the mound in the whites, the Old English D, one more time at Comerica Park before he retires.
No, I'm with you. How long did he spend with the Astros? It says
7
20
years.
Yeah, 7 years compared to 14.
He spent 5 years with the Astros, then signed with the Mets. You remember when the Mets signed Verlander and Scherzer?
Yes.
And then traded them away because they were so horrible that year? I'm sorry, TD.
Yeah. Good thing he's not here to hear this.
So he went back to the Astros for another year or two, spent last year in San Francisco, and then now with Detroit. But man, some of the years he put up with the Tigers, I remember 2011, 2012, the 2012 Game 5 against the Athletics in the ALDS, where the Tigers, this was the year they were supposed to do it. They had Prince Fielder. They had Miguel Cabrera. They had Austin Jackson in center. V-Mart was on that team. That was the team that was supposed to go all the way. They ended up getting swept by the Giants in the World Series. but they were one game away from going home in the ALDS, and Justin Verlander just went out and shoved in Oakland to get the Tigers to the ALCS. They ended up sweeping the Yankees to go to the World Series. I will remember what Justin Verlander did for the Tigers, even though they came up short of a championship. Like that, those are some of my fondest memories watching him pitch. His no-hitter in Toronto. Awesome. I would be very disappointed if he goes in wearing an Astros cap. He said he's undecided.
See, I think of this in like LeBron. Like if he were to go into the Hall of Fame as a Laker or something,
or like even Miami, right?
I feel like he has to go in representing Cleveland. You
Right.
know,
I don't think
kind of how I feel.
Choose in the NBA Hall of Fame. I think baseball.
Look that up.
Baseball, I think, is the only one where they like actually make you make a decision of which team you want to go in with. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, like if LeBron went in as a member of the Miami Heat, I think that would be wrong. But it's very similar because he started his career in Cleveland. Obviously did end up going back and winning a championship there, but he left Cleveland because he wanted to win a championship and did it with the Heat. Similar thing with Verlander with Detroit. Of the Tigers and Verlander realized they were going through a rebuild and they wanted to give him a chance to go win a title. He goes to Houston, he does it. He deserves to go in as a Tiger, and the city of Detroit deserves to have him in as a Tiger.
I agree, because that organization, and you're a fan, has been through so much. This would be I feel like the least that can be done for the city of Detroit. And I mean, when you spend 14 years there compared to 7 in Houston, it just makes sense.
Well,
but no, they don't have to pick a team in the NBA Hall or the Hall of Fame.
So it won't be an issue for LeBron. But yeah, I'm excited to hopefully see Justin Verlander pitch at least one more time as a Tiger. I'm very glad he'll be at the All-Star game next week. I can't believe it's the All-Star break coming up on Monday.
I know.
Home Run Derby on Monday.
Yeah.
Jordan Walker, for your Cardinals fans out there, I don't know if Connor Newton, Nick Frazier are listening as they get ready to do the show. Jordan Walker going to be in the Home Run Derby. So
he will.
Excited for that.
I saw him. So I watched the Cubs and Cardinals on Sunday, and I saw him hit a 3-run home run. The power that dude has is ridiculous.
Yeah. No,
it's ridiculous.
He's insane.
And he's got an arm on him too as an outfielder.
Yeah.
Insane.
The jump he's taken from last year to this year is astronomical. He has been great. William and Madison text in, Tim Corbin's first game at Vanderbilt was against Justin Verlander, and he shut them out. Do you know where Justin Verlander played college baseball?
No, I don't. I feel like I should know this.
Old Dominion.
Old Dominion, baby.
He was a Monarch.
Go Monarchs.
He was a Monarch. Grew up in the Richmond area and ended up pitching for ODU. So shout out Justin Verlander on an unbelievable career. One of the best that we've seen from a pitcher in this generation over the last 25 years. 21 years in the league, 82 wins above replacement, and 3,500 strikeouts for Justin Verlander, and he will retire at the end of this year.
He will go in as a Tiger. Let's manifest it
we're
now.
manifesting
Let's
it. Justin Verlander will go into the Hall of Fame, go into Cooperstown with the Old English D on his hat. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will wrap up the show coming up next. Last call for phones. If you have anything to add, again, you can text or call 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final segment on this Thursday. I know everybody out there has missed TD, but he will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. It is a Freaky Friday with Teron Davenport.
Do you think Worst Way is a Freaky Friday song?
It could be. I don't know if it would fit. I don't know if TD would know that one.
It certainly wouldn't fit.
TD wants some throwbacks there.
Yeah.
But
maybe a little.
But I think that's kind of the vibe that we're looking for.
Freaky Friday. I mean, we can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean
I need a rating at the end of the show.
Okay.
To know how I did.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time.
We'll have to give you a grade. Yeah, we're switching it up on you. So tomorrow, 9 a.m., Teron Davenport in studio. We will talk Titans and much more. Excited for that to wrap up the week. Did want to pass along some breaking NHL news. I think this came out at about 15, 20 minutes ago. Leo Carlsson. The Flyers put in an offer sheet for him as an RFA, but it has been matched by the Anaheim Ducks. He is now the NHL's highest paid player. 5 years, $90 million. These hockey contracts
the highest paid player?
Big, yeah. Past Kirill Kaprizov of the Wild. So $90 million over 5 years for Leo Carlsson.
How about that? So he's higher paid than like Connor McDavid.
Yeah, McDavid makes $12.5 million a year, I think. So this is $18 million for Leo Carlsson, who, let's look, last year, 70 games, had 67 points. So close to a point per game type of guy. And, you know, a young guy too, that they're trying to build around, only 21 years old, getting $90 million over 5 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. So wanted to pass that along. We were talking about Justin Verlander. 4312 also makes a good point that Justin Verlander has one life, married to Kate Upton too. I remember when they started dating while he was with the Tigers, he like rolled a ball over the top of the dugout to her. They've been married for a while now. That's
pretty cool.
Some of my friends will say that because a lot of my friends grew up in the Richmond area. Sometimes when they're visiting, they will see Kate Upton like working out at the gym. Like they'll be at like, I don't think it's a Planet Fitness. It's probably a nicer gym than that. But like they'll see Kate Upton out there, which is kind of crazy.
Can you imagine just doing some bench press casually? Then you look over your left and you see Kate Upton walking in. Would you get a little starstruck?
I was going to say stadium pulse would just be absolutely insane.
I wouldn't be able to focus, man. I'd have to call a timeout.
Yeah, we're going to need a 30 here.
Give me a full, man.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go full. Yeah, that was that when I heard somebody say that, they're like, yeah, my brother was at the gym and he saw Kate Upton.
That's crazy.
Wrapping up the show here. World Cup continues today. It was strange, Parker, not to have soccer to turn on the TV yesterday. It's like when the NCAA tournament ends and you don't have college basketball to watch anymore. Like that's how I felt yesterday of like sitting there planning the show, trying to find something on TV. And I'm like, oh, there's no soccer today. It was strange.
No, it definitely was, but I'm excited for this. I think I will tune in for a fair amount of this quarterfinal round because just have some great matchups. France and Morocco. They played last year, right?
4 years. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah. They played in the semifinals. France won that.
Yeah.
And then ended up losing to Argentina in the finals. So yeah, France, Morocco today, 3:00 at Boston Stadium in Foxborough, Gillette Stadium. Kylian Mbappe, the stars have been out in this World Cup. Excuse me.
It's a star-driven.
It has been
sport.
A star-driven tournament, and you've got plenty of stars coming up over the next few days. I get you want to draw it out a little bit. I kind of wish there were 2 games each of the next 2 days, and then you could take a couple days off to get ready for the semifinals. So only 1 game today, France and Morocco. Then tomorrow it's Belgium and Spain. That would be the game that the U.S. would have played in.
Are we hate watching Belgium?
Oh yeah. I'm rooting for Spain. 100%.
I never expected Belgium to be a country that I hate. You know?
I don't know about hate, but this is the second time in 12 years. I guess because the U.S. missed the World Cup in 2018. 2 out of the last 3 World Cups the U.S. has played in, Belgium has ended their tournament. So yeah, I'm rooting for Spain in this.
I never thought I'd be rooting for Spain, but here I am.
And then Saturday is going to be a whole lot of fun. Norway, England at 4:00. I will be locked in on that one. because
of Holland, man.
Well,
He's awesome.
And England was fun to watch in that Mexico game with Jude Bellingham and, of course, Harry Kane. And, they did have the red card. That one is going to be electric on Saturday afternoon, 4:00 kick. And then Argentina, Switzerland. Switzerland is our Cinderella story, right? And Argentina has not exactly looked all that comfortable over the last couple of games. I mean, Cape Verde gave them everything that they could handle back last Friday. And then Egypt the other day, blowing a 2-goal lead in the final 11 minutes of that game. So could Switzerland possibly pull off the upset and knock Messi out of what could be his last World Cup? We've seen Neymar retire from international soccer. Cristiano Ronaldo is retired. I think there's a decent chance this is the last World Cup that Lionel Messi ever plays in. That's 8:00 on Saturday. So good quarterfinal matchups with intrigue across the board. You've got rematch of the semis 4 years ago today between France and Morocco. Tomorrow, Spain and Belgium. Spain, the favorite coming into the tournament, and hate watch of Belgium for sure. And then Saturday, Norway, England, I think is the best quarterfinal, and then possible upset watch for Argentina. All of them have different reasons to tune in.
No, I'm really excited. So I had somebody, put into college football terms what England did by going into Mexico City and beating Mexico. And I saw this on Twitter. It was like walking into Death Valley at night at LSU and winning.
Yeah.
That is the college football equivalent.
Mexico, I think they had said they had never lost a World Cup match, or maybe it had been such a long time since they lost at the Azteca. And they had all opportunities playing a man up for the final 30 minutes there. We're getting a lot of text here, 3 in a row actually, about Norway being the team that they're rooting for. And I'm on the same page. Norway is my team. Is it America's team? Is Norway America's team the rest of the way? There's no one else that I'm looking at that I want to root for.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of Messi fans too. So
yeah,
Argentina's probably, I think I'm personally going to go for Norway too, just because of Holland. I don't know who else I'd root for.
Yeah,
it's not because I definitely not rooting for England, definitely not rooting for Belgium. I'm more of a Ronaldo guy. That's the side of the debate I committed to. So I don't know if I'm rooting for Argentina necessarily. And they won it in 22.
They did. Argentina's the defending champ. So I don't want to
root for Spain.
I don't want to see them win again.
It'll be anticlimactic if Spain wins it all.
Yeah, and I'm not rooting for England. So I guess you're rooting for the underdogs here.
Or the Swiss.
Yeah,
let's keep the Cinderella run going.
I will root for the Swiss. I'll root for Morocco even.
Great chocolate in Switzerland.
Yes.
Great chocolate.
Yeah, and Morocco, could they be the first African team to win?
Oh, that's right.
It's only been Europe and South America who have won. There's only been 8 countries that have ever won the World Cup. So getting somebody new would be great. But yeah, I would say that's my 3. Norway, Morocco, and Switzerland.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
I haven't checked our pool with Yumi and Connor.
Okay, so I hate
because Connor hasn't been on for 2 weeks.
Okay, Middle Tennessee, you can't fault me for this. I did pick Belgium at the start, but I also didn't know that they were going to play the U.S. in the round of 16.
No, that's true. So you actually are the only one with 2 teams remaining. You have
Spain and Belgium,
France and Belgium.
Oh, France and Belgium. Yeah.
So you have France and Belgium. I have Spain. So our 2 teams play tomorrow.
Which you're going to win that one.
And then Connor has Argentina. That's it. Our other 5 teams are out. Portugal, the U.S., Brazil, Germany, and Senegal.
So there's a good chance France could win this thing. France and Spain would play in the semifinal round.
So
if they both won.
There's a very good chance that one of our teams ends up in the final because France, Belgium, Spain are all on the same side of the bracket. Morocco is the other one. So a good chance that one of us, me or you, get somebody in the final. Connor has Argentina, probably the favorite from that side of the bracket, but nobody else over there with Norway, England, and Switzerland. So,
yeah, they definitely have the easiest path.
Yeah.
Compared to what France and Spain have had to go through.
Yes, for sure. Argentina, Cape Verde, Egypt, Switzerland to get to the semifinals is kind of crazy.
I still can't believe Egypt blew it. I can't believe it.
I know. Imagine
nothing. Getting Egypt or Switzerland in the semifinals.
Yeah, in the semis.
Who would have seen that coming?
That would have been really fun and probably gives you the best chance to see Holland in the final.
England is favored, right?
I mean, I'm going to root for Spain on that side of the bracket because they're my team that I picked. So I'm rooting for a Spain-Norway final, and I'll pick Norway to win it. That's what I'm rooting
going
for here.
France-Norway.
Okay.
Since that's
that is
the team I picked.
There you go. That does it for us today. Been a fun show. Thanks for hanging with us as we talk some NFL, talk some college football. Again, don't forget to tune into Parker tonight, 6 o'clock, the Air Raid with Parker Kelley on his YouTube channel and on 102.5 The Game's YouTube channel tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Teron Davenport in studio. Usually on Thursday, we'll have a Freaky Friday with Teron Davenport tomorrow. Keep it tuned right here. Chasing Big Joe with Nick Frazier and Connor Newt coming up next on 102.5 The Game.